The Great Hall of the Galactic Council stretched far beyond what human eyes could see. Thousands of alien beings filled the massive space, their voices creating a sound like rushing water. At the center stood a group of tall, scaled creatures, with silver skin that seemed to shine under the bright lights. These were the Keth Mori, and today they faced judgment. Sarah Chen sat in the human observation section, her hands gripping the metal rail in front of her. As Earth's first ambassador to the galaxy, she had come here hoping to secure humanity's place among the stars. Instead, she was watching what looked like a trial. The Keth Mori leader, Elder Sisithara, stood with her head held high despite the angry voices around her. Her large golden eyes showed no fear, only sadness. Behind her, 12 other Keth Mori waited in silence. "You have refused our final request," boomed the voice of High Chancellor Vorthak, a massive creature covered in black armor. His red eyes glowed as he stared down at the Keth Mori. "The healing knowledge you possess could save billions of lives across the galaxy, yet you keep it locked away like selfish children." Elder Sisithara stepped forward. When she spoke, her voice was soft but clear. "We have explained this many times, High Chancellor. Our medical abilities cannot be separated from our world. They require living bonds with creatures that exist only on our planet. To remove this knowledge from its source would destroy both the knowledge and our world." "Lies!" shouted someone from the crowd. Sarah could not see who spoke, but many voices joined in agreement. The Zilani representative, a thin blue creature with too many arms, spoke next. "The Keth Mori have had 300 years to find a way to share their gifts. Instead, they hide behind excuses while others suffer and die." Sarah felt sick as she listened. She had read about the Keth Mori on her journey here. They were known throughout the galaxy as healers. Their medical technology could cure diseases that killed millions and help people live for hundreds of years. But they had always said it could not work away from their homeworld. "The decision has been made," High Chancellor Vorthak announced. "The Keth Mori are hereby expelled from the Galactic Council. No member species may offer them aid, trade, or shelter. They are enemies of galactic progress." The sound that rose from the crowd was like the roar of a hungry beast. Sarah saw some aliens cheering while others looked uncomfortable. The Keth Mori stood still as stone, showing no emotion. "You have 1 day to leave council space," the High Chancellor continued. "After that, any ship carrying Keth Mori will be destroyed on sight." Elder Sisithara bowed her head slightly. "We understand," she said. "We will gather our people and go." As the council session ended, Sarah watched the Keth Mori delegation begin to leave. They moved slowly, their heads down. She started to stand, thinking the day was over when she heard a strange sound. Elder Sisithara had stopped walking. She swayed on her feet, then fell to her knees. Green foam came from her mouth. One by one, the other Keth Mori began to collapse. "Poison," someone in the crowd said, but they did not sound surprised, they sounded pleased. Sarah looked around in horror. Council security guards stood nearby, but they made no move to help. The other delegates watched, but did nothing. Some even smiled. Without thinking, Sarah jumped over the rail and ran toward the fallen Keth Mori. Behind her, she heard Captain Rodriguez, her military escort, calling her name. "Ambassador Chen, stop. You cannot interfere." But Sarah was already kneeling, beside Elder Sisithara. The Keth Mori's golden eyes were wide with pain. Sarah pulled out her emergency medical kit and began checking for vital signs. "Help me," she shouted to the crowd. "Someone call for medical aid." No one moved. The security guard stepped closer, but not to help. "Ambassador," one of them said, "you need to step away. These beings are no longer under council protection." "They're dying," Sarah snapped back. She pressed a breathing mask over Elder Sisithara's face and activated her portable oxygen unit. Captain Rodriguez reached her side. "Sarah, we have to go. If you help them, Earth will never be accepted into the council." Sarah looked up at him, then back at the dying Keth Mori around her. Elder Sisithara's hand found hers and squeezed weakly. "Then we'll never be accepted," Sarah said firmly. She began applying antitoxin patches from her kit. Rodriguez, help me get them to our ship. Ambassador, think about what you're doing, Rodriguez said, but he was already moving to help another fallen Kethmori. High Chancellor Vorthak's voice echoed through the hall. Let it be noted that the human delegation has chosen to aid enemies of the Council. Earth's application for membership is hereby rejected. Sarah ignored him. She was too busy trying to save lives. It took an hour to get all 13 Kethmori to the human ship. Most were unconscious, but Elder Sisithara remained awake. As they lifted off from the Council station, she spoke to Sarah in a whisper. Why? Did you help us? Your species needed Council membership. Sarah was checking the medical readings on her portable scanner. The poison was unlike anything in human databases, but her basic treatments seemed to be helping. Because it was the right thing to do, she said simply. Elder Sisithara's golden eyes studied Sarah's face. Your people, they are not like the others, are they? I don't know, Sarah admitted. We're new to all this, but where I come from, you don't let people die when you can help them. The elder Kethmori was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, perhaps there is hope for this galaxy after all. As their ship flew away from the Council station, Sarah sent a message back to Earth. She told them what had happened and what she had done. She expected anger, maybe even orders to return the Kethmori to space. Instead, the reply came from President Martinez herself. Bring them home, Ambassador. Earth has room for those who need it. Captain Rodriguez, who had been quiet since leaving the station, finally spoke. You know this means we're on our own out here, right? No Council protection, no trade agreements, no maps of safe routes through space. Sarah nodded. I know. She looked back at the Kethmori resting in their ship's medical bay. But maybe, being alone is better than being part of something like that. Through the ship's windows, the Council station grew smaller behind them. Ahead lay the long journey back to Earth, carrying passengers who had been rejected by an entire galaxy. Sarah did not know what would happen next. She did not know if Earth could survive without the Council's support. But as she watched Elder Sisithara sleeping peacefully for the first time since the poisoning, she knew they had made the right choice. Sometimes, she thought, doing what was right was more important than doing what was safe. And sometimes the best way to join a community was to refuse to become part of it. The human ship turned toward home, carrying its unexpected passengers toward an uncertain future. The journey back to Earth took 3 weeks. During that time, Sarah learned more about the Kethmori than any human had ever known. Elder Sisithara recovered quickly once the poison left her system, and she spent long hours talking with Sarah about her people. We are not just healers, the elder explained as they sat in the ship's common area. We are connected to all life on our world. The creatures there, the plants, even the smallest bacteria, they all work together. Our medicine comes from this connection. Sarah listened carefully. So when the Council asked you to share your knowledge, they wanted us to tear apart this web of life, Sisithara said sadly. They did not understand that our healing power cannot exist without the whole system. To give them what they wanted would kill our world and end our abilities forever. But they wouldn't listen. The Council sees only what they want to take, the elder replied. They do not see what might be lost. Captain Rodriguez joined their conversation. What will your people do now? Where will you go? Sisithara's golden eyes grew dim. We have nowhere to go. No world will accept us, and we cannot return to our home. The Council will destroy any ship that tries to reach us there. What about your families? Sarah asked gently. They knew this might happen, Sisithara said. We chose to come to the Council hoping for understanding. Instead, we may never see our home again. Sarah felt a heavy weight in her chest. These beings had risked everything to try to make peace, and they had been punished for their honesty. When they finally reached Earth, Sarah was surprised by what waited for them. Instead of the small diplomatic greeting she expected, hundreds of people had gathered at the spaceport. News of humanity's rejection from the Galactic Council had spread quickly, along with the story of why President Martinez met them personally. She was a small woman with gray hair and kind eyes, but Sarah knew she was also one of the toughest leaders Earth had ever had. Elder Sisithara, the president said, bowing slightly in the Kethmori way that Sarah had taught her. Earth welcomes you and your people. The elder looked surprised. You would shelter us, even knowing what it will cost you? We've been having long discussions about that, President Martinez said with a smile. And we've decided that some things are more important than joining a club that poisons its members when they disagree. Over the next few days, Sarah found herself in meeting after meeting. Earth's leaders wanted to understand exactly what they were getting into. The military wanted to know about threats. Scientists wanted to learn about Kethmori technology. Politicians wanted to know how other nations would react. The most important meeting happened in a small room with just 5 people. President Martinez, Sarah, Captain Rodriguez, Elder Sisithara, and General Thompson, Earth's top military commander. Let's be honest, General Thompson said, his voice serious. The Council has thousands of worlds and millions of ships. We have one planet and maybe 50 ships that can fight in space. If they decide to force us to give up the Kethmori, we can't stop them. They won't attack immediately, Elder Sisithara said. The Council prefers to use pressure first. They will block your trade routes and try to isolate you. If that doesn't work, then they'll use force, the general finished. President Martinez leaned forward. Elder Sisithara, I need to ask you something directly. Can your people help us defend ourselves? The Kethmori was quiet for a long moment. Our knowledge is mostly about healing, not fighting. But, she paused, there are things we know about biology that could help your soldiers survive injuries, ways to make your people stronger and faster, if you are willing to share your own knowledge with us. What do you mean? Sarah asked. Humans are unique, Sisithara explained. Most species in the galaxy are very specialized. They are good at one thing but struggle with others. Humans are different. You can adapt to almost anything. You can learn any skill. This makes you dangerous to the Council, even if you don't realize it yet. Captain Rodriguez spoke up. Dangerous how? Because you don't fit into their system, the elder said. The Council controls the galaxy by keeping everyone in their place. Warriors fight, traders trade, workers work. No one crosses boundaries. But humans, you do everything. You could upset their entire way of organizing the galaxy, President. Martinez smiled grimly. So they would have found a reason to reject us eventually anyway. Very likely, Sisithara agreed. The president stood up and walked to the window. Outside, she could see one of the temporary shelters they had built for the Kethmori. Here's what we're going to do, she said finally. We're going to offer full sanctuary to the Kethmori. We're going to help them build a new home here on Earth, or on one of our colony worlds. And in return, we're going to work together to prepare for whatever the Council throws at us. Ma'am, General Thompson said carefully. Are you sure about this? We're talking about going to war with most of the galaxy. No, the president corrected. We're talking about defending refugees and standing up for what's right. If the galaxy wants to make that a war, that's their choice. Elder Sisithara bowed, deeply. President Martinez, my people accept your offer with gratitude. We will share what we know and help you however we can. Over the following weeks, something remarkable began to happen. Human scientists and Kethmori healers started working together, sharing knowledge in ways neither species had imagined possible. The first breakthrough came when they discovered that human DNA was unusually compatible with Kethmori biological enhancements. Dr. Elena Vasquez, Earth's leading geneticist, could barely contain her excitement when she called Sarah with the news. Ambassador, you need to see this. The Kethmori healing organisms, they're adapting to human biology faster than anything we've ever seen. It's like our species were meant to work together. Meanwhile, the Council's response was swift and harsh. Trade routes to Earth were blocked. Navigation data for safe passage through dangerous space was cut off. Any ship trying to reach Earth would have to find its own way through asteroid fields and cosmic storms. But something unexpected happened. Messages began arriving through secret channels. Other species asking about Earth's offer of sanctuary. The galaxy, it seemed, had more outcasts than anyone realized. Captain Rodriguez brought Sarah the first of these messages. "It's from something called the Zephyrian Collective," he said. "They're energy beings who were expelled for refusing to power Council war machines. They want to know if our offer extends to them too." Sarah looked at the message, then at the Kethmori settlement taking shape outside the city. "I think," she said slowly, "we're going to need more space." President Martinez's answer, when it came, was simple and direct. "Earth stands open to all who seek freedom and peace. The galaxy may have rejected us, but we will not reject those who need help." Elder Sisithara, hearing this decision, placed her scaled hand on Sarah's shoulder. "Your people have a saying, don't they? About the size of one's heart being more important than the size of one's body?" Sarah nodded. "The galaxy is about to learn," the elder said with the first smile Sarah had seen from her, "that humans have very large hearts indeed." 6 months after the Kethmori arrived, Earth looked very different. What had started as a single refugee settlement had grown into something much larger. Ships arrived almost every week, carrying new groups of beings who had been cast out from the galaxy. Sarah stood on the observation deck of the new Refugee Coordination Center, watching the controlled chaos below. In the past month alone, they had welcomed the Zephyrians, living energy beings who glowed like small suns, the granite folk, silicon-based creatures who looked like walking rocks, and the Whisper Collective, pale, thin beings with large heads, who spoke through thoughts rather than words. "It's getting crowded down there," Captain Rodriguez said, joining her at the window. He now served as Director of Refugee Security, a job he had never expected to have. "Crowded but peaceful," Sarah observed. Below them, a group of human children were playing with young Kethmori, their laughter mixing with the musical sounds the alien children made. Nearby, granite folk workers were helping humans build new housing using techniques that made construction 10 times faster than before. Dr. Elena Vasquez approached them, carrying a data pad and wearing the biggest smile Sarah had seen in weeks. "You both need to hear this," she said excitedly. "The cooperation results are beyond anything we hoped for." "Good news, I hope?" Rodriguez asked. "Amazing news," Elena said. "The Zephyrians have helped us increase our power production by 300%. Clean energy with no waste. The granite folk have taught us construction methods that can build earthquake-proof buildings in days instead of months. And the Whisper Collective," she paused, looking almost amazed at her own words. "They've created a translation system that lets any species communicate perfectly with any other. No more misunderstandings, no more language barriers." Sarah felt a warm feeling in her chest. "And the Kethmori?" "The medical advances are incredible," Elena continued. "Working together, we've cured 3 diseases that have plagued humanity for centuries. But more than that, we're learning to enhance human abilities safely. Faster healing, better reflexes, stronger immune systems." "Any problems?" Rodriguez asked. He had learned to always ask about problems. Elena's smile faded slightly. "Resources are getting tight. Food, housing, basic supplies. Each new group that arrives has different needs. The Zephyrians need special crystals to focus their energy. The granite folk eat minerals we have to mine. The Whisper Collective requires specific atmospheric conditions." Sarah nodded. She had been expecting this problem. "What does President Martinez say?" "She's calling for a global response," Rodriguez answered. "Every nation on Earth is being asked to help. Some are eager, others—" He shrugged. "Others are worried about what the Council might do if this continues." Their conversation was interrupted by an urgent beeping from Elena's datapad. She looked at it and frowned. "We have another ship incoming. Big one this time." They hurried to the communications center, where technicians were already working to establish contact with the approaching vessel. The main screen showed a ship unlike any they had seen before, long and sleek with what looked like gardens growing on its outer hull. "This is the seed ship Verdant Hope," came a voice that sounded like wind through leaves. "We are the Treekin Collective." exiled from council space for refusing to surrender our agricultural worlds to industrial development. We request sanctuary. Sarah looked at the data scrolling across the screen. The ship carried over 5,000 refugees, an entire small civilization. How many ships are behind you? She asked into the communicator. We are the last, the voice replied sadly. Our worlds have been strip-mined. Our forests are gone. We carry only what seeds and soil we could save. President Martinez arrived just as the discussions were beginning about where to house 5,000 tree-like beings. She looked tired, but determined. Ma'am, Rodriguez said carefully, this is getting beyond what Earth can handle alone. We need more space, more resources, more help. The president nodded. I know. I've been talking with the colonial governors. Mars has agreed to take some refugees. The Europa station can house the Zephyrians in their energy research facility, and the asteroid mining stations. She paused. Well, the granite folk actually want to work in the asteroids. Apparently they find space mining relaxing. Elder Sisithara entered the room, moving with the quiet grace that all Kethmori possessed. President Martinez, I have news that may help with our resource problems. I'm listening, the president said. The outcasts are not just refugees. Sisithara explained. We are all specialists in areas the council wanted to control or eliminate. Working together, we can create things that no single species could make alone. Dr. Vasquez leaned forward. What kind of things? The Zephyrians can power manufacturing processes that normal energy sources cannot handle. The granite folk can build in environments that would kill other species. The Whisper Collective can coordinate complex operations across vast distances instantly. The Treekin can grow food in places where nothing else could survive. And the Kethmori? Sarah asked. We can ensure that all of these different species remain healthy while working together, Sisithara said. We can adapt each species to work in environments that would normally be hostile to them. President Martinez stood up slowly. You're talking about something bigger than just refugee camps, aren't you? Yes, the elder said. We're talking about building something the galaxy has never seen before. A true alliance where every species contributes their greatest strengths. Rodriguez whistled softly. That would require incredible coordination. The Whisper Collective can handle that, Sisithara said. And humans. She looked at Sarah. Humans can do something none of the rest of us can do alone. What's that? Sarah asked. You can adapt to work with anyone, the elder explained. You can learn our skills, understand our needs, bridge our differences. You are the glue that can hold this alliance together. 3 hours later, Sarah found herself in the most important meeting of her life. Representatives from all the refugee species sat around a table that had been specially designed to accommodate different body types and environmental needs. The Zephyrian representative glowed softly as it spoke through an energy translator. We have been alone in space for 50 years since our exile. The chance to work with others again, it gives us hope. The granite folk speaker, whose name sounded like grinding stones, added, We have watched the council waste resources and destroy worlds. Here we see the possibility of building instead of destroying. The lead whisper sent thoughts directly into everyone's minds. We have dreamed of a place where different voices could create harmony instead of discord. Perhaps that place is here. The Treekin representative, a being that looked like a walking oak tree, rustled its leaves thoughtfully. Our worlds are gone, but seeds can grow in new soil. We offer our agricultural knowledge to help feed this growing alliance. President Martinez looked around the table. So we're all in agreement? We're, not just offering temporary shelter anymore. We're building something permanent. Something new. Elder Sisithara spoke for all of them. We are building a place where being different is valued, not feared. Where cooperation replaces domination. Where the outcasts become the foundation of something better. Sarah felt a chill of excitement and fear. What they were discussing was ambitious beyond anything humanity had ever attempted. They were talking about creating an alternative to the Galactic Council itself. There's just one problem, Rodriguez said quietly. The Council isn't going to let us do this. When they realize what we're building here, they're going to try to stop us. The room fell silent. Everyone knew he was right. Then we'd better build fast, President Martinez said finally, and we'd better build strong. Outside the meeting room, the first Trecan seed ship was landing. Sarah watched through the window as the massive vessel touched down in the specially prepared area. Its cargo doors opened, and beings that looked like living trees began to emerge, carrying precious seeds and soil from their destroyed worlds. Sarah realized she was watching history being made. Not just the history of refugees finding shelter, but the history of something entirely new being born. Something that might change the galaxy forever. The question was, would they have enough time to build it before the Council decided to destroy it? The message arrived on a Tuesday morning, broadcast on all frequencies so that everyone in the solar system could hear it. High Chancellor Vorthak's voice filled the communication centers of every human colony, space station, and refugee settlement. People of Earth, the message began, and Sarah could hear the barely controlled anger in the alien leader's words. You have harbored enemies of galactic order for too long. You have created a dangerous alliance that threatens the stability of civilized space. Sarah stood in the emergency command center that had been built beneath the Refugee Coordination Center. Around her, representatives from all the allied species listened to the ultimatum with growing alarm. You have 72 hours to surrender all outcast species to Council custody, the High Chancellor continued. If you refuse, the Galactic Council will consider Earth and all its colonies to be in rebellion against lawful authority. The consequences will be severe. The message ended with coordinates for a meeting point beyond Pluto's orbit, where the Council fleet was assembling. President Martinez turned to General Thompson. How many ships do they have? Our long-range sensors count over 800 vessels, the general replied grimly, including 12 dreadnoughts and at least 50 heavy cruisers. It's the largest Council fleet ever assembled. Rodriguez pulled up tactical displays on the main screen. We have 43 combat-capable ships, most of them converted cargo vessels, plus the refugee ships, but they're not armed. So we're outnumbered about 20-1, Dr. Vasquez said quietly. Elder Sisithara stepped forward. There is something you must understand about the Council fleet. They expect easy victories. Their tactics rely on overwhelming force against divided enemies. Meaning? President Martinez asked. They have never faced an opponent who could match their coordination, the Whisper Collective representative explained, the thoughts flowing directly into everyone's minds. They have never fought someone who could adapt during battle. The Zephyrian delegate glowed brighter as it spoke through its translator. We have analyzed their energy patterns. Their ships are powerful but rigid. They cannot change their systems. Quickly, the Granite Folk speaker added. Their ship designs prioritize offense over defense. They expect their enemies to break quickly. Sarah looked around the room at the faces, human and alien, that had become so familiar over the past year. Are you all saying what I think you're saying? We're saying we're going to fight, President Martinez said firmly. All of us together. The next 72 hours transformed the solar system into something the galaxy had never seen. Human creativity combined with alien knowledge in ways that defied every military manual ever written. The Keith Mori worked with human medics to create enhancement treatments that would help pilots survive the crushing forces of space combat. Their biotechnology merged with human systems to create reaction times faster than any Council pilot could match. The Zephyrians poured their energy into human weapons and shields, creating power levels that should have been impossible. Human engineers worked around the clock to build new focusing systems that could channel and direct the living energy. The Granite Folk, working in the asteroid belt, constructed defensive platforms at incredible speed. Massive structures that would have taken years to build were completed in days, each one designed to work with the others in perfect coordination. The Whisper Collective created a communication network that connected every ship, every station, every fighter pilot in the system. For the first time in warfare history, an entire fleet could think and act as one. But it was the humans who provided the element that made everything work together. Human adaptability allowed the different technologies to merge. Human creativity found new ways to use alien abilities. Human determination held the alliance together when the stress of preparation threatened to tear it apart. Captain Torres of the UES Defiance had been chosen to command the defense fleet. Sarah stood beside him on the bridge as they watched the Council Armada approach. 800 ships moving in perfect formation, their weapons charged and ready. All ships report ready, Torres announced. Enhancement treatments are active. Energy levels are at maximum. Defensive platforms are online. Communication network is functioning perfectly. Sarah looked at the tactical display. Their small fleet looked pathetic compared to the Council Armada, but she had learned not to judge by appearances. Incoming transmission from the Council fleet, the communications officer reported. High Chancellor Vorthak's image appeared on the main screen. His red eyes glowed with anger as he looked at Torres. I am giving you one final chance, human. Surrender the outcasts, and your species may survive. This day. Torres looked back at the alien leader without flinching. We've already given you our answer, High Chancellor. These beings are under our protection. Then you have chosen destruction, Vorthak snarled. All ships attack formation. Show these primitives the price of defying the Council. The screen went dark. For a moment, space was silent. Then the battle began. The Council fleet attacked exactly as Elder Sisithara had predicted, with overwhelming force aimed at breaking their enemy's will quickly. Hundreds of weapons fired at once, creating a wall of energy that should have destroyed anything in its path. But the human ships were no longer alone. Zephyrian energy flowed through their shields, turning deadly weapons fire into manageable heat. Granite folk platforms absorbed punishment that would have vaporized normal structures. The Whisper Collective's communication network allowed the defenders to move like parts of a single organism, and the humans adapted. Within minutes of the first exchange, human pilots were learning to use their enhanced reflexes in ways their trainers had never imagined. They flew through weapon fire that should have been impossible to avoid. They coordinated attacks with a precision that made the Council formation look clumsy. Impossible, Sarah heard someone mutter on the Council communication channel they had tapped into. How are they moving like that? The answer was simple. They were no longer fighting as separate ships. They were fighting as one mind with many bodies, one will with many hands. Every pilot could see through every other pilot's eyes. Every gunner could feel the rhythm of the entire battle. The first Council ship to fall was a heavy cruiser that had pushed too far forward, swarmed by a dozen human fighters moving in perfect coordination. It found itself unable to target any of them effectively. Its weapons were too slow, its movements too predictable. Then a second ship fell, then a third. High Chancellor Vorthak's voice crackled over the communications. This is impossible. They're just humans and outcasts. But it wasn't impossible. It was just something the Council had never seen before. Species working together instead of trying to dominate each other. The battle raged for 6 hours. Slowly, the Council's advantage in numbers began to matter less than the defenders' advantage in coordination. Ships that had fought independently for thousands of years could not match opponents who moved as one. When the Vorthak's flagship finally began to retreat, it signaled the end of the Council's attack. More than half their fleet was damaged or destroyed. The mighty armada that was supposed to crush Earth's rebellion limped away into deep space. Sarah stood on the bridge of the Defiance, hardly believing what she was seeing. They had won. Against impossible odds, they had actually won. Damage report? Captain Torres asked. 17 ships lost, 43 damaged but repairable, came the reply. Casualties are surprisingly light thanks to Kethmori medical support. Elder Sisithara, who had insisted on being present for the battle, placed a scaled hand on Sarah's shoulder. Your people have something the Council does not understand, she said softly. What's that? Sarah asked. You know that being different makes you stronger, not weaker. The Council fears differences. You celebrate them. As rescue operations began and the wounded were taken to medical stations, Sarah realized that something fundamental had changed. Earth and its allies had not just won a battle, they had proven that there was another way to organize galactic civilization. A way based on cooperation instead of domination. A way that valued diversity instead of fearing. The question now was, what would they do with this victory? 5 years had passed since the battle that changed everything, Sarah Chen, now serving as the first Director General of the Haven Alliance, stood in her office looking out at a sight that would have been impossible to imagine when she first met the Kethmori. New Geneva, the capital city of the Alliance, stretched out below her. Human buildings stood next to Kethmori biostructures that seemed to grow from the earth itself. Zephyrian energy conduits glowed softly between granite folk stone towers that reached toward the sky. Treekin gardens provided green spaces where the wind carried the songs of a dozen different species. Children of all these species played together in the parks, speaking a mixture of languages that somehow made perfect sense to all of them. To them, diversity wasn't strange. It was simply normal. A soft chime announced a visitor. Elder Sisithara entered, moving with the same grace she had possessed when Sarah first met her, but now there was something lighter in her step. Something hopeful. "The morning reports," the elder said, handing Sarah a datapad. "I thought you would want to see the numbers yourself." Sarah scanned the information and smiled. 47 new systems have requested Alliance membership this month. 48 as of an hour ago, Sisithara corrected. The Altarian Republic just sent a formal application. It had started slowly. In the months after their victory over the Council fleet, word had spread throughout the galaxy about the alliance that had defeated the mighty Vorthak Empire. At first, only a few isolated systems had reached out, asking if the alliance would accept new members. The answer had always been the same. Everyone was welcome, as long as they were willing to contribute to the common good and respect the rights of others to be different. What followed was something historians would later call the Great Awakening. Species that had been oppressed for centuries began to rebel against Council authority. Entire regions declared independence. Trade routes that had been controlled by the Council for millennia suddenly opened to free commerce. "Any word from the Vorthak Empire?" Sarah asked, though she suspected she knew the answer. "High Chancellor Vorthak was removed from power last month," Sisithara reported. "The new government is calling itself the Vorthak Republic and has requested alliance mediation to help establish a democratic system." Sarah shook her head in amazement. Even the species that had led the Council's oppression were now seeking a different path. Captain Torres entered the office, now wearing the uniform of Alliance Fleet Command. "Director General, we have the final report on the Zelani situation." "Good news, I hope?" Sarah asked. "The best," Torres smiled. "The merchant cartels have agreed to dissolve their monopolies. They're restructuring as cooperative trading networks. Competition will be fair and open for the first time in galactic history. It had taken 3 years of careful negotiation, but even the Zelani Consortium, the economic powerhouse of the old council, had eventually seen the benefits of the alliance system. When species worked together instead of trying to exploit each other, everyone prospered. Dr. Elena Vasquez arrived for their weekly coordination meeting, carrying the enthusiasm that had never left her despite years of incredible discoveries. "The latest research results are fascinating," she announced. "The integration between human and alien technologies is accelerating. We're seeing innovations that none of our species could have achieved alone." "Such as?" Sisithara asked. "The Zephyrian human hybrid ships can travel farther and faster than anything the galaxy has ever seen. Granite folk human construction techniques are allowing us to build cities in environments that were previously uninhabitable. And the medical advances from Kethmori human cooperation." Elena paused, almost breathless with excitement. "We're close to eliminating genetic diseases entirely." Sarah walked to the large window that dominated one wall of her office. Outside, she could see the construction of the new Alliance Council building, where representatives from over 200 species would soon gather to discuss the future of galactic civilization. "It's hard to believe how much has changed," HFY said softly. "The galaxy was ready for change," Elder Sisithara observed. "It just needed someone to show that a different path was possible. Someone to prove that strength comes from diversity, not uniformity," Torres added. A gentle mental touch indicated that the Whisper Collective representative wanted to join their conversation. The thoughts that flowed into their minds carried warmth and satisfaction. The old galaxy was built on fear. Fear of differences, fear of change, fear of others. The new galaxy is built on hope. Elena brought up a holographic display showing the current state of known space. Where once there had been the rigid boundaries of Council territory, now there was a complex web of interconnected alliance members, independent systems, and cooperative networks. The economic data is remarkable, Elena continued. Trade has increased by 400%. Scientific advancement is happening at twice the previous rate, and conflicts between species have dropped to the lowest levels in recorded history. Because everyone has a voice now, Sarah noted. No one feels they need to fight to be heard. A communication alert chimed. Sarah's assistant announced that President Martinez was calling from Earth. The former president, now serving as Earth's representative to the Alliance, appeared on the main screen. Her hair was completely gray now, but her eyes still held the determination that had led humanity to take its stand 5 years ago. Sarah, I have news that I think you'll want to hear personally, she said with a smile. I'm listening, Sarah replied. The archaeological teams on Kethmore have made an incredible discovery. They've found evidence that this isn't the first time. Different species have tried to build a cooperative galactic civilization. Elder Sisithera moved closer to the screen. What kind of evidence? Ruins that are millions of years old, President Martinez explained. Technology that shows multiple species working together, sharing knowledge, building something beautiful. It seems that long before the Council existed, there was something like our alliance. What happened to it? Torres asked. We're still studying the evidence, but it looks like they succeeded for thousands of years before some kind of catastrophe destroyed most of their worlds. But the important thing is that they proved it was possible. Sarah felt a deep sense of connection to those ancient beings, whoever they had been. They had dreamed the same dream, faced the same challenges, and for a time at least, they had succeeded. After the call ended, the group stood in comfortable silence, looking out at the bustling city below. Ships from dozens of worlds came and went from the spaceport. Citizens of every imaginable species walked the streets together, working together, building together. Do you think we'll avoid whatever destroyed the ancient alliance? Elena asked, quietly. We have advantages they didn't, Elder Sisithera said thoughtfully. We have humans. What makes humans so special? Sarah asked, genuinely curious about the elder's perspective. You asked that question the day we met, Sisithera replied, with what Sarah had learned to recognize as a Kethmori smile. Do you remember what I told you then? Sarah thought back to that first conversation on the ship returning from the Council station. You said humans don't fit into the Council system because we do everything instead of specializing. Yes, but more than that, the elder continued. Humans have something most species lose as they advance technologically. You still remember how to change. Change? Most species, once they develop space travel and advanced technology, become rigid in their thinking. They find ways that work and then stick to them forever. But humans, you never stop adapting, never stop trying new approaches, never stop growing. Torres nodded slowly. That's why we were able to integrate everyone's technology so quickly. And why you were willing to help us in the first place, Sisithera added. Most species would have calculated the risks and chosen safety. Humans chose compassion even when it seemed dangerous. Another chime announced the arrival of Sarah's daily briefing schedule. She looked at the list of meetings, conferences, and decisions waiting for her attention. It was a lot of responsibility, but she had never felt more purposeful. I should get to work, she said. The afternoon session is about expanding the university exchange programs. As the others prepared to leave, Elder Sisithera lingered for a moment. Sarah, do you ever regret the choice you made that day at the Council station? Sarah looked out the window at the thriving city, thought about the hundreds of worlds now working together in peace, considered the children playing in parks who would grow up in a galaxy where being different was celebrated rather than feared. Never, she said firmly. Sometimes the right choice is the hard choice, but it's still the right choice. Elder Sisithara bowed in the formal Kethmori manner. Then the galaxy is fortunate that humans found us when they did. As Sarah prepared for her afternoon meetings, she reflected on how far they had all come. The galaxy that had once seemed so hostile and unwelcoming had become something beautiful. Not because they had changed the galaxy by force, but because they had offered it something better. A place where outcasts could become family, where differences could become strengths, where cooperation could triumph over domination. Thank you for watching and comment for next part.